So here we have HTML. None of this is all that important. We're going to see popup.js in a second. So it's 3 columns within a single row. Not important, not important. This is just the form at the top. It's not even a form, it's just a single input and a button. When you press that button, there's a listener in our JS file that we're going to see in a second, but it appends to this list. And then, yeah, drop zone 1 is somewhat useful to remember in this situation, just because that's going to be our indication of where we can put stuff. Like when we're dragging, where can you drop it? So next up, we want popup.js. So starting off, we have set date. That's just for actually telling what today's to-do list is for. Let drag lets us save what's being currently selected and dragged around. So when we start dragging, we want to change the HTML just because we want to make it slightly more see-through. You can play around with it. Like I thought it was better that way. Cool. After we stop dragging, we want to remove that class name. And then once drag is over, I don't remember what this part is. I remember it was needed. I just don't remember. Event fired and drop targets prevents default to allow drop. Cool. I had read some stuff to get this to work. I think I just copied and pasted over like the actual example for drag over. So when you enter drag, you want to, once we're currently in drag and we hover over whatever drop zone that is, we're going to see that purple ring around it, which is how we're adding this HTML. Drag over and it'll show us where we are allowed to drop it. So once we drop it or we leave, no, this is when you're hovering over it and then you're not hovering over it. When you're not hovering over it, we're going to remove that class name. Okay. So the reason why we have 2 different drop zones, I'll explain right now. So in order to identify where I'm going, I needed to separate the 2 of them just because it didn't really give me an identifier for where I just came from. It only gave me the identifier of where I'm going to. So that made it a little bit tricky. But yeah, I think I made it work more or less. Okay, so event, blah, blah, blah. I probably could have just kept this the same. I ended up finding some information about this later. So when we drop it, we're going to identify if it contains drop zone 1. But this event.target should contain either close 1 or close 2, which is the little X's on the side, which identify which span it represents, which list to delete it off of, which we're going to use that in a second. Okay, so we're not dragging it over anything anymore. We're going to save. So this is actually just taking the text and then we're going to remove it from the last thing because we already have an event listener listening to when that clicks. Then we save that text that we had here. I did it this way because I was running into an error that is still there and I was hoping this would fix it. It didn't. Anyway, so 3 identifies the column for backlogs. 1 identifies the column for to-do. Cool. Okay, same thing as before. Now we get to the initializing part. So when you first open up the page, you're going to see a bunch of stuff. So it's just going to fetch our thing from memory. So that's list 1. And list 1 is going to be appended to our to-do list, which is going to be used to show all our stuff. It's the same thing for backlog and achievements. So this next part is when you click the button, we're going to trigger saver. So this part is just fetch data from that little input value. And once that button submit is pressed, it gets passed here, and we're going to save it. Cool, we're separating our values. We're going to put our value onto to-do list, and we're going to save it into memory, and we're going to add it to the screen. So here we're going element by element, do input. So this, oh, right, we need to reset our little input so it's empty now and it's not just still there, or else that would look weird. Anyway, so next we want to fetch that list that we want to append to. We're going to pass that list to add it, and we're going to pass the value and the list itself, or the list number. So from there, we're creating a list item, and we're going to append that value onto it. We're going to append a span, and that's going to have an X in it. And if anyone, so we're going to attach close one as the class name, so it has, so we can tell which one we want to be clickable. This is for dragging things around. This is not needed. Yeah, this isn't necessary. It doesn't even work. I will remove those. Anyway, yeah. So now we have our event listener. So at this point, we hit click, and it will grab the current, well, it'll look inside the actual object and then see which this thing represents, and it'll give us the index for that particular list object. And then we want to delete it from the visual, and we want to remove it from the list. And then we remove all instances. Okay. Where else are we? They all do the same. So here we're actually removing the item. So we're fetching the list again, and then we're going to splice the list, and then we're going to save the list. Cool. Set date is not that important. Day, month, year, update the actual tag. It's simple stuff. So the next part, the options page itself is the same as the one we just saw. The only difference would be that this, no, I don't think there's any difference on this one. No, there is no difference. This just updates a list that we'll use in background. So in background, we're going to fetch the list when our status is complete. So this is why we need a tab. So activate true, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so we want to make sure we're actually on that page. And then we're going to send message tab ID true. I guess we don't actually send it. I think this is just to activate our script, which is weird because we kind of already have it there. I mean, it is running, but it's not really running. So this isn't where it starts. It starts at the bottom. So let's read this first. So we have Chrome runtime on message add listener. So this will accept what we just sent from background. So we fetch our list, and now we're going to read through the list, and then we're going to find those words. And so this one switches out the word for a specific word, which is like replace or something. And then this one changes that replace to highlighted. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so when we're finding the word, we're gonna fetch everything. And then we're gonna see. This is the special case for title. We want to change that to hate this page. Okay, what else? Where are we? So we're reading through the elements. We're going down, down, down. Found this word is changed. So we replace that. Replace text. Okay, I don't think we use this that much actually, because I didn't want to. Found this word gets replaced with right. Okay, so yeah, we do. So this will actually find our word. Then from here, we're gonna switch it back plus this span, which will change the background color to that highlighted thing that we saw. Okay, that's everything. There's CSS, but that's not important. So, anywho, you can do whatever you want. See ya.